Okay. Quality's pretty bad now. They took Dmitry Simishev? Wow. Wow. Holy crap. I might have to reconnect myself to the Wi-Fi here. Hopefully that helps. Dude, that's nuts. I was kind of hoping he dropped to 19, but wow. That's big. I thought that's what I thought that Arizona was going to do. I thought that they were going to pick a defenseman and then get their whatever forward they wanted at 12. Maybe they end up trading up, but we'll see. There hasn't been any movement at the draft yet, no trades, so we'll see. But I just noticed somebody else joined the live stream right now, probably through the link on Facebook, but I was just talking about Simishev after Montreal drafted Reinbacher, and Arizona just drafted Simishev, which I was hoping he would drop, but when I did my mock draft, I had Arizona picking Reinbacher because they had the pick at 12, and if they pick it, my thought process was if they take the defenseman they want now at 6, then they can still get a really good forward at 12 because they're pushing more forwards back after picking at 6. And that's exactly what they've done, only I'm assuming they picked the defenseman that they thought was probably the second best, or they probably liked Dmitry Simishev the most. But there was rumblings that Philadelphia was going to take a defenseman themselves too. So I'm not surprised Arizona jumps at the defenseman at 6, and we could still see Philadelphia taking Axel Sundin Pelika here. And they're showing Matvei Michkov right now dropping out of the top 6. So Philadelphia's on the clock, and now I've got another commercial, a Mission Impossible one. Who all is in the stream right now? App. The thumbnail on this stream is so blurry. I saved it from Google Images. So, yeah. I just tried to get this up quickly. I literally just made a comment about how long I was streaming on that for. It was literally an hour and 17-ish minutes, and it just crashed. Which I do believe it saves, so it'd be nice to be able to go back and look at my reaction to everything. It is kind of annoying not being able to look at my phone, but that's why I have Twitter and everything pulled up. I do want to see everyone's reaction to Simishev being picked at 7, though. After all this, that's who they pick? Michkov here, or is it Dvorsky? Yeah, no, it's Simishev. This is why the Yotes are the Yotes. Yeah, Chief being the Chief. Yeah. That's 3 picks so far that are kind of surprising. Yeah, Blackhawk Up put it perfectly. Fantilli is a franchise center, the guy who was passed on by Anaheim and ended up going third overall to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And Leo Carlsson is going to be a great player. There's a huge difference between franchise centers and great players. And then Simashev is a 6'4" defenseman who can skate better than an elite forward. And David Reinbacher is a solid 2A top 4 defenseman. You'd probably take Simashev over Reinbacher, but that's not what happens. So this is going to be a nuts draft. But Philadelphia's got their pick in. Now I have a strong feeling here we might see our third defenseman come off the board in a row, because Philadelphia does have another pick later in the first round. And here in my mock draft, I had them taking Sandin Pellikka. But we'll see. Tom Wielander is an option as well. There's a lot of good players that are falling to Chicago right now because of the defensemen that are being taken off the board. But still, Chicago would have to trade up. I mean, at this point, when you're at 7, unless Matvei Michkov gets picked here, you might want to talk to Washington about moving up to the 8th overall spot if you're Chicago. It's weird seeing Keith Jones in management spot as opposed to being on a broadcast. This is so weird. This draft is so weird. I mean, we knew it was going to be all over the place, but at the same time, okay. So the Philadelphia Flyers get probably the second best player in this draft in Matvei Michkov at 7th overall. It's probably the steal of the draft. I mean, like I said, he had the best draft, or he had a better draft eligible season than Alex Ovechkin did when, words are hard. This year, in his draft eligible season, Matvei Michkov had 1 or 2 more points than Alex Ovechkin did in his draft year, and Ovechkin played, I think it was 26 more games. So, I mean, he's a nuts player already. And the weirdest thing is he actually had a really slow start to the year, and then he was loaned out to the HK Sochi and just lit up the KHL. He was finally given playing time in the top 6, and apparently scored a freaking Michigan goal. So, yeah. He could be, I mean, it feels weird to say because he's being drafted 7th overall, but outside of Bedard, he could be the best player in this draft. And in fact, by the time he hits the NHL, he could, Bedard's going to be a franchise-changing player and could be a generational talent, could be one of the greatest players of all time. Michkov could be that same player. He had 9 goals and 11 assists for 20 points in 27 games for SK St. Petersburg. Yeah, I think Ovechkin had 3 more points and 26 more games. So Ovechkin had 23 points in 46 games or something like that, or 50-something games. And then 2 years ago in the U18s, Michkov had 12 goals in 7 games, which is even more nuts. All right. Whew. Okay. Now it's probably Dalibor Dvorsky who goes here at 8, even though I didn't have him going there in my mock draft. I actually had Michkov falling 1 more spot to the Washington Capitals. But with him off the board, it's a bit up in the air as to who goes where now for me. 5'10", 172. He's a skinny player. It's remarkable that he produces as much as he does when he's playing against men in the KHL. Oh, they've got a translator there for Michkov. Dude, if you're Washington, you got to be upset. Because Michkov was literally one pick away from being yours. I mean, that's what the general managers in the NHL get for being so inactive when it comes to trades, so scared of pulling a trigger on things. Because there are talks about the Capitals trading up, but at this point, if I'm Washington, I'd probably try to trade the pick and get some good players on the roster. And that probably won't happen with Chicago. I don't know who you end up trading the pick to that has a good enough players on your roster, but you'd also have to move ooh shit, Kuznetsov or Anthony Mantha. So we'll see what happens here. It does seem like they're deliberating on their pick. I think they genuinely thought they were going to get Michkov. All right, top 3 picks are taking photos right now. Bedard looks so small compared to the other two. All right, pick is in, so they're not trading the pick. Wow, they have Bradley Nadeau listed at the 20th best prospect right now. I wouldn't even be upset if Chicago took him at 19. Bradley Nadeau has the best shot in the draft outside of Connor Bedard. Scouts have said, especially in the elite prospects, scouts, they've said that it's honestly scary seeing his shot come off his stick because it's so fast that hits a single freaking player. It's gonna, it could injure someone if you hit him in the right spot. Because there are spots in hockey players' padding where there are, well, lack of padding. Like, I think in the wrist, there isn't much there. Like, right between where their forearm pad is and their glove. There's a sweet spot there if you just get hit, you're frickin' shagged. And if a goalie gets hit in the neck there, whew, Jesus. All right. As for who's going to go here, I have no idea at this point. I would assume Dalibor Dvorsky. I have him going 10 to St. Louis, but it could be Dvorsky or Benson, but I would probably go with Dvorsky here if I'm the Capitals. A big center. Thanks for liking that, Mom. Now I know you're here. Oh, shit, they took Ryan Leonard. Okay. I like that. I love Ryan Leonard. I hate that he's a Washington Capital, but I love Ryan Leonard. Dude, him and freaking Tom Wilson are going to be annoying as shit. They're going to be playoff monsters. That's a really, really smart pick by the Washington Capitals. Vancouver's going to be really upset because I heard that they really liked Ryan Leonard, or at least their fans did. Okay, so Dvorsky might honestly fall to St. Louis here. I mean, if we get Dvorsky at 19, I'll be happy. Because I have a weird feeling that Pearl's going to go pretty early in this draft. Even though I really don't want him to. Although the way things are going, Size is being picked first right now. So Parole could probably drop into the mid to late 20s if Chicago doesn't pick him. Oh, they have Leonard listed as 6 foot 190. I thought he was 5'11", 194. Several different sites will have players at different heights. Oh, thanks for the like. Listed as a right wing. I see Ryan Leonard as a center. The way he plays the game, being able to drive the play through the middle of the ice and play a big physical game is kind of what I'd want out of somebody like him. That's what I want my centers to do, is be hard on the forecheck, and that's what Ryan Leonard is. Whenever he gets the opportunity to lay a hit in open ice, when the refs aren't looking, he'll do it. He plays a hard, mean game, but he scores a lot of goals too, so. And he's got deceptive speed. Out of the USN CDB players, I'd say he's behind Oliver Moore in terms of speed, and only Oliver Moore. Dude had 17 points in 7 games in the U18 World Championships. He also has underrated hands. But now the Detroit Red Wings are on the clock, and arguably the smartest GM in the NHL is probably going to make a really good pick here. I could see Oliver Moore going here, but I think it's probably best that they go with Zach Benson. I really feel like that's what they're going to go with, and I think Detroit fans would actually love Zach Benson. He's somebody that I wanted the Hawks to pick when I thought they were going to draft 3rd, 4th, or 5th. I mean, their highest odds were drafting 5th, I do believe. So I thought that Benson would be a really good pick at 5th, but we're at 9 now, and he hasn't been picked because there have been 2 defensemen taken off the board. Whew. Oh, you know what? That actually puts Britton Nadeau as the 28th best prospect according to them. Not the 20th. Because he just jumped to 19, and it's because other people are getting picked. Detroit could go with a defenseman here, but I don't think so. They could trade it, but I don't see their general manager on the phone. Yzerman and the Yzer plan. Dude, they could go Sandin Pellikka and get the Swedish player out of the way, because I think they've drafted a Swedish player in the last, in the draft in the last 30 straight years. Yeah. All right, I think Connor Bedard's already had his interview with the Hawks reporters, so I'm sure Mark Lazarus is going to have something, or Scott Powers. All right, pick is in for the Detroit Red Wings. That's great. Bedard posted a video on the Chicago Blackhawks Twitter saying he can't wait to play for the Hawks. Whew. All right, there's Steve Yzerman. The Vegas Golden Knights posted on Twitter an hour ago saying, "Dang, Chicago took our guy." They took Nate Danielson? What the fuck? Okay, since probably nobody else knows aside from me, Nate Danielson has been looked at as the safest pick in this draft. He's also one of the oldest players. He missed out on last year's draft by, I think it was 16 days. So essentially, when you look at his stat line, you want to take a look at his draft minus 1 year. And I do believe, off the top of my head, he had 57 points in 64 games last year in the OHL or the WHL as a draft minus 1 player, but effectively a draft eligible player because he only missed out by 16 days. But this year, he had like 73 and 67 or something like that, so or 74. So he had a good year, but he's effectively got an additional year of development on everybody else in this draft. So, in my opinion, like I said, you look at his draft minus 1, and that's not first round caliber, in my opinion. So, I wouldn't take him at 9. But, I don't know, Steve Yzerman's a really smart guy, but we'll see. Fuck, that means Zach Benson is dropping potentially out of the top 10. Which a lot of people are hoping doesn't happen just because he's so good. He deserves better than that. If the Hawks get him at 19, that would be nuts. They'd come out with the 2 best players in the draft out of the WHL if he drops to 19. And if I'm Chicago, I'm talking to St. Louis, Vancouver, any team right now to see if I can get Zach Benson at 10 or 11 or even 12. And Vancouver wants to move their pick to get out of salary cap hell, so we could see Chicago acquiring that 11th overall pick. Oh, wow. Yzerman was so confident that they were going to draft Danielson at 9 that Danielson's jersey has his name on the back of it. Although I feel like most teams probably do that. Now that I think about it. I don't get this pick. He's somebody I'd take in the late first round in case he is a late bloomer, but odds are I would have taken him early to mid-second round. But that's just me. I mean, he is a really good player. It's just like I said, he's got an extra year of development on everyone else. So what he looks like now is probably closer to his finished product. People are home. And I guess there is the one caveat to the fact that he was on a terrible team this year. So his point production could be looked at as something that maybe he would have had more points if he was on a better team. But you could say the same thing about Bedard. Bedard was on arguably one of the worst teams in the WHL, but because Connor Bedard is Bedard, he forced his way into the playoffs with the Regina Pats. So, but wow, if I'm a Detroit Red Wing fan, I'm not happy with that. But you have to just trust in the Yzer plan. So. All right, well, St. Louis is on the clock now, and I had them taking Dvorsky, so they might still take him here. But Oliver Moore is there, so maybe you want to take him. Oliver Moore is dropping as well. Somebody that I just saw in their top prospect rankings right now is Callum Ritchie. I have him going 14th to the Pittsburgh Penguins, but if I'm the Hawks, I don't draft him just because of the uncertainty. He got injured, and when he came back, he didn't really play all too well. But it could have been just because of his injury, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to take that risk. Tis my food.
Tis your food.
Thank you. My keyboard's in the way. Shannon Tucker. You're Morgan's sister, ain't you? You've got to be Morgan. There's no way Morgan's sister is just watching me. And what are you talking about? Who are you talking about as good? Danielson or Anisimov, who's on my jersey? Because Anisimov don't even play hockey anymore, I don't believe. What the fuck? It's Liam's bestie? Dude, I thought Tucker and Rucker was the same thing. So it's Morgan's best friend. How are you Morgan's best friend and you don't realize that she has a sister? Why would I? I've never heard of Liam mention a Shannon. The only person who's ever talked about Shannon is. You saw me at Walmart? Yeah, when I was in my truck. So you're that Shannon? Morgan, that's you can't speak on that. You're a stalker yourself. Okay, they took Delaware Dvorsky. That's what I thought was gonna happen. Tad bit distracted, but yeah, I've never heard of Liam talk about Shannon. Morgan talks about Shannon all the time. We're your number one fans, Devin. We don't know anything about hockey, but you're teaching us. Oh, thank you. I'm glad to have some number one fans. Hockey has hot players. Okay. All the guys that are getting drafted look like babies, so. But Jonathan Toews, I guess, looks all right. Actually, William Nylander, you should look him up. And Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews has a hell of a cookie duster. She is a baby? I don't know how old either of you are. All I know is that Morgan's a cougar. Well, I guess we're going to keep talking about the hockey, but Dvorsky, I had some people had him being picked as fifth because of his combine results and the U18 junior championships. He dominated there with Czechia. No, I'm going to say cookie duster on the live stream. It's a hockey thing. And yes, she is a cougar, damn it. But Dvorsky, he's a really good playmaker. He's 6'1" and 200 pounds, so he's a monster of a human as well. But yeah, he has a good shot, but he tends to pass the puck more often. Never thought you'd say that, but we say it a lot. I think Liam has a water bottle saying that I like older women, or that he likes older women. But I would have liked Dvorsky, especially since he was dropping, having him inside the top 10 for most people. Now he's at the very bottom of the top 10. But with Vancouver, we could actually see a trade here, assuming Kyle Davidson wants Zach Benson, because right now he's the top guy that hasn't been picked yet. And if I'm Vancouver, I'm probably taking Zach Benson, but who's my team? The Chicago Blackhawks. We drafted the first overall pick because we got lucky. We had like a 2.18% chance of drafting first overall, and we won the lottery. So I think we had a 12.28% chance of drafting fifth overall or third overall. No, we had like a 2% chance of drafting third, and then like a 12% chance of drafting first. And then it was like 70 something percent chance we were drafting fifth. So like the odds of us getting first was nuts. But we got there. Vancouver so badly wanted Bedard because he's a Vancouver native, but being the 11th worst team in the league when you're trying to be in the playoffs isn't going to get you a first overall pick. You got to have the balls to trade away your two faces of your franchise to actually be bad enough to win the first overall pick. Vancouver's taking a while. I don't know how much there is to deliberate about this. Although they do want a defenseman, so maybe that's why they're taking a while. If not, then they're trying to trade the pick. Because at the rate Sandin Pelika is dropping, you might be able to get him at 19. Pick is still not in yet. Alright, pick is in, so they're not trading it. Shit. Middle-like. I do not get the feeling Chicago's moving up. Because Arizona was the last team that I know of that is in salary cap trouble that they could have made a deal with. So. Alright. Well, if I'm the Vancouver Canucks, I'm taking one of Oliver Moore or Zach Benson. And I think I had them taking Oliver Moore, so we'll see. I didn't have Zach Benson available at 11, but he is now, so. I do actually see the Pittsburgh Penguins getting Benson if he isn't picked here. Although Arizona might take him because they just took a defenseman. You know, that's probably what's going to happen. One of Benson or Moore is probably going to Arizona. And since Arizona already picked, they're just going to come up and announce the pick once they get up there. They picked Tom Willander. What the fuck? There was a lot of talk about them really liking him after the combine. Now, Tom Willander is probably the second best skating defenseman in this draft. And he's got a decent defensive game and a defensive offensive game. He's very similar to David Reinbacher, only he's not as physical. So, outside of his skating ability, there isn't a whole lot in terms of defined potential that you can see in his game. But he's going to take a lot of development to figure out what kind of player he's going to be. So I don't see why you take him at number 11 when you could have traded your way into the second round or into the latter half of the first round to get him. But it looks like he's got a wicked shot, so I don't know. I wouldn't have picked him here when Zach Benson is still on the board. Wow. He's got size, though, but still 6'1" ain't great. All right, bye, Shannon. Okay, so he is more offensively oriented than I thought he was. 25 points, 39 games. It's still, his offense didn't necessarily jump out to me when I was watching some of his tape. It just seems like he's got a good shot from the point because that's all everybody ever really saw of him or showed of him that I saw. And his skating. I mean, I see him as probably a fifth defenseman in the NHL that can play in your second power play unit. But if you're Vancouver picking at 11, you probably want somebody who has higher potential than that. So, based on what Barry Trotz has said about the draft, if somehow he falls to 15, there's no way he falls further than that. So, damn. I don't even want to eat my food because it feels informal to eat in front of 6 people. Well, 5 because one of them is me. I couldn't help but notice that Vancouver didn't congratulate the Stanley Cup champions or thank Nashville. Connor Bedard tweeted, "I am a Blackhawk" an hour ago. Yeah, no, the Canucks did not just get Zach Benson because they're stupid as shit. Thank you, Morgan. I'll look at it later. I feel like it's been a while since there was a commercial break. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Blackhawk Up. I feel like everybody's just as surprised as I am the way this draft is going down, but at the same time, some of these picks were kind of expected. We just assumed that they weren't going to happen the way that they have been. Well then. Yeah. Poor Carey Price, man. He said David and then paused for a solid 30 seconds before the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens came up and said Reinbacher. Dvorsky, Wood, Hanzik, yeah. Well, no, Dvorsky still is off the board now. Pick is in for Arizona. This should be Benson. And if it's not, I'd be surprised. They just took Daniil Boot. I mean, Daniil Boot is a really good player. I was hoping that Chicago might be able to get him at 19, but people are ranking him outside of the top 20. So at 12, this is a bit nuts. He's got really good hands. He's got some good speed. It takes him a while to get to top speed, though. Decent shot, pretty decent playmaker. Just the biggest thing about him is the fact that he's big. And that's where, I mean, that's why he goes 12th overall, is because he's 6'5" and 200 and something pounds, I do believe. 213 or something. I might be wrong. But big guy, has a lot of potential just to fill out that frame. And it's good that he's got good speed, but he needs to adjust his skating so that he's better on his edges and able to get the top speed a lot quicker. But he could be great, but I mean, he's not right now as good as Zach Benson, and Zach Benson still has a lot of room to grow, so. So weird. Where's number 50? Couldn't see him wearing that in Chicago. Damn, he's got excellent hands. I mean, I see why Arizona likes him, but I mean, when you have the second pick of your draft, or you're taking your second pick in the draft, you probably just take whoever you want. And I guess that's why you take him. He had 6'5", 203. So I had 2 of his weight numbers correct. I knew he was over 200 pounds. All right, we got 7 more picks until Chicago picks again. Buffalo is going to be on the clock in about a minute or two here. I have Buffalo taking Matthew Wood, and I think a lot of people having them taking Matthew Wood. He's a big 6'3" right winger, or 6'4" rather. Plays a big physical game and has a hell of a shot, but he's almost as bad at skating as what's his face Andrew Cristal is, Connor Bedard's best friend. But it's fair for Matthew Wood being 6'4" and not being that good of a skater, whereas Andrew Cristal being 5'9" and being just as bad a skater as Matthew Wood is not okay. If you're gonna be that small, you need to be quick. So we'll see. Like I said, I don't see Cristal going in the first round unless Chicago takes a flyer on him. All right, Buffalo is now officially on the clock. So what's interesting is that Arizona was not afraid to take KHL players from Russia. I mean, there's a lot of potential in KHL players. They'll take a while to get to your team just because of their contractual status, but I don't have anything wrong with that. I mean, it's good to see that Arizona is willing to take those high-risk, high-reward picks. I don't really see... I mean, Boot I see as more of a second-line left winger or right winger who plays a power game with a lot of skill and is a good producer on your power play with his one-timer. But, I mean, you obviously need those, so getting one at 12 is not bad. But when you had Zach Benson right there... I think Zach Benson was teammates with one of the Buffalo Sabres, so Matty Savoy and Zach Benson could be playing for the Buffalo Sabres together. All right, see you, Mom. Pick is in. All right. See who they go for here. All right, there we go. They take Zach Benson. Finally, he's off the damn board. He's going to play with his teammate. It's Matthew Savoie. Yeah, him and Savoie are both going to be going from the Winnipeg Ice, who just relocated to a different city in the WHL, to the Buffalo Sabres. I think Savoie is supposed to play in the AHL this year, whereas Benson, I think, has to play in the junior leagues, despite putting up 90-something points in the WHL as a draft eligible prospect. One of the best prospects in the NHL, in Logan Stankoven, produced the same, I think, like 2 more points than him in the same amount of games, and he's looked at as an elite prospect, and he's a year or two older. So Benson's nuts. To get him at 13 is insane value, and Buffalo is extremely smart to have drafted him here. Wow, that sucks. I would have loved him to drop to 19, but it would have been disrespectful to Benson, in my opinion. But hopefully Moore drops to 19, because I love Moore. But between Moore and Gabe Perreault, I don't know who I want more. Fuck. You know what I'm trying to say. 5'10", they're lying. He's not 5'10". Dude had 98 points in 60 games. That's nuts. And he goes 13th overall. Didn't light it up as much in the playoffs as he did in the regular season. 17 and 15. Bedard played in 7 games and I think had 18 points. Because he's just built different. Commercial break. I want Oliver Moore, but I don't have a strong opinion. All right, pick is in. They're talking to Connor now. He looks so good in the Hawks jersey. I'm so happy I'm getting his jersey. That was a short interview. Well, I guess it's because Pittsburgh's waiting. Oh, fuck, I forgot Kyle Dubas is the general manager there now. Or he ain't the general manager, but he's the president of hockey ops. I think I had them taking Braden Yeager at 14. No, fuck, I had them taking Callum Ritchie. I was gonna swap Braden Yeager. Like, when I was going to the 14th overall pick in my mock draft, I had Braden Yeager there, and I was thinking that Pittsburgh had a different general manager. I forgot Kyle Dubas was there. But now that I think about it, Braden Yeager makes perfect sense for Kyle Dubas. Speedy center that I was hoping would drop to 19 as an option for the Hawks. He's got a wicked shot. His goal production actually dropped this year from last year, but he transitioned from being a winger to a center and started playing a more two-way defensive game to help his team win games. But his points went up, so he got more assists and he played better defensively, and he dropped out of the top 10 projections and ends up going 14th overall to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he's going to be a hell of a player for them, in my opinion. All right, so Oliver Moore is still available for Nashville at 15. In my opinion, they probably take him there. I can't really think of anybody else who has massive potential that could go at 15. Maybe they take... Oh, Kyle Davidson is on the phone, apparently. It looks like he's trying to make a move for that Nashville pick at 15. Or or he was trying to acquire 13 or 14 for Benson. I think that's what was going on, because that tweet was made 6 minutes ago. Which would have been nice, but obviously didn't happen. All right. The Nashville Predators are now on the clock. I love Kevin Weeks. This is a lengthy interview with Bedard. Sucks I can't hear it. And the closed captions are pretty bad because they're gray for whatever reason, and the background where they're at is gray with white words. Just to fuck with me. Okay, Patrick. Picks in for Nashville. So Chicago does not trade up. Alright, so at this point, we're just hoping to God that Gabe Perreault, Axel Sandin Pelika, Oliver Moore, and even Andrew Cristal fall to 19. And we've got 4 picks, so one of those guys is probably not going to be there. If not all of them. So this is Nashville's pick, the hometown team for this draft. I'm sure they're going to have a whole lot of shit to say before they make their pick. Wow, okay, so they take Matthew Wood, the poor skating forward that can score like a motherfucker. Alright, Oliver Moore is dropping to Chicago right now. If Calgary, Detroit, and Winnipeg don't decide to take him. Same with Gabriel Perreault. For Calgary, I had them taking, I think, Nate Danielson. And then, I had Calgary taking Nate Danielson, who's already off the board. Otto Stenberg, I had going 17 to Detroit because I figured they were going to take a Swedish forward in the first round. And then at 18, I had Gabriel Perreault going to Winnipeg, but we'll see because, I didn't expect Moore to drop this far. I guess people see a lot of issues with him potentially having a poor offensive game if he can't. I mean, I don't know where, because he's going to be faster than almost everyone wherever he goes. But Wood's a good player. Nashville should be pretty happy with that. They just got to hope his skating gets better. I'm not sure what Calgary needs here at 16. I mean, their whole team is trying to leave them right now, so they could honestly use anything. So they should go with best player available, which according to Megan is Gabriel Perreault. Which I really don't want them taking Gabriel Perreault, but I could see it. I could see them taking Edward Schala. Or Samuel Hanzek. Maybe they take Caleb Ritchie. Just throwing out a bunch of names here. Hopefully one of them sticks. Colby Barlow is still available, which is kind of nuts. But So we're nearly halfway through the draft now, and I have been streaming for 2 hours, so on 2 different streams. Hopefully this one doesn't crash in the next 15 minutes like the last one did. Led his team in points as a freshman? Wow. Okay, you know what? Matthew Wood probably should have gotten higher than he did at 15. All right, pick is in for Calgary. We'll see who Chicago misses out on. Just 3 picks after, well, technically, yeah, just 3 more picks, and then Chicago's on the board, or on the clock. It looks pretty likely that if Chicago wanted to take him at 19, Chicago could take Andrew Cristal, unless Detroit takes him at 17, just to blow everyone else out of the water, taking another weird-ass player. Although I think if Sandin Pelika passes through Calgary right now, I think Detroit takes him at 17. He's got to be trembling in his boots with half his team just deciding that they don't want to play for him anymore. God. I get the congratulations, but it makes everything take so much longer. All right, here's the pick. They take Samuel Honzik at pick number 16. He's the guy I had Chicago taking at 19, which gives Chicago one of the 4 players I was hoping for. In Cristal, Sandin Pelika, Oliver Moore, and Gabriel Perreault. So they have a really good chance of getting somebody I like, which is really, really good. And there's always a chance that they choose somebody that I haven't even been thinking of, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But Samuel Honzik is a big 6'4" winger. I think he's 210 pounds. He's pretty good at, despite being as big as he is, he's a pretty good skater. He's got really good hands. Got a pretty good shot. He's a nice playmaker. He's a better playmaker than he is a goal scorer. But he plays a big power forward game too. So he'll just pretty much drive his way through other teams' defenses with the puck on his stick and force his way towards the net to either get a goal or set up a goal. Wow, I was off by his height and weight by quite a bit. He's 6'3" apparently, 195 as opposed to 6'4", 210. But several different places have different like heights and weights and shit, so I could be right, but 43 games, he had 56 points in the WHL. That was actually pretty good. This is a deep draft. There's a lot of good players here. All right, so next up will be Detroit, and I don't see why they wouldn't take Axel Sandin Pelika here. Whatever they do end up doing, I do see them taking a defenseman or a Swedish player, just because that's what I've been hearing that they'll do. Lots of other people are thinking the same thing as me, with the kind of players that are potentially going to be available. Yeah. Yeah. There's a really good chance I get someone I like. And I love that. I've loved the USNTDP players for a while, and I only like Cristal because he's Bedard's best friend. So we'll see what happens. I would prefer the player I want the most would be Perot, then it would be Moore, and then probably Cristal. Or actually, if sending Pelika is there, I'd rather Pelika. But after this commercial, they seem to be having a commercial break after every 2 picks. All right. Charts on the clock, I do believe. Oh man, I really need to know who they're going to take. I'm surprised there hasn't been a single trade. It's kind of nuts. Why is there a second commercial break? The pick hasn't even been made yet. Commercial after commercial. Sweet. Bro. This is why I can't stand the NHL draft sometimes. They make it take so goddamn long for no reason. What do you mean they're just now on the clock? It's been 5 minutes. Oh, yeah. Pick's in now. It was probably in like 10 minutes ago. Yeah, no trades. It's been in terms of the picks, the draft has been pretty eventful, but in terms of everything else, it's been a pretty low event draft. The pick is in, but they're not walking up to the podium. Yeah, there you go, Eiserman. Get your fat ass off that chair. I could see Gabe Perreault going here to Detroit. So I really don't want it to be that way, but could also see the defenseman going. I could see them taking Kobe Barlow, though. Go for a bunch of centers, but at this point, they got the guy they wanted. Maybe you just draft the best player available, which would be Gabe Perreault. Okay, so they take Axel Sandin Pelika, the defenseman, like I thought they were going to. So that means Chicago has really high odds of getting Gabe Perreault. Like, really high odds. Unless Winnipeg wants to be a bunch of assholes here. Chicago has Gabe Perreault at 19. And or Oliver Moore. They have one of the two. This is really, really, really good. Now, Axel Sandin Pelika, he's along the same lines of Adam Boqvist. When the Hawks drafted him in 2018, they drafted him 8th overall. Axel Sandin Pelika, because this draft is so deep, goes 17th. He's got a really good shot as a defenseman. He's a really good skater. He's got a really good offensive mind. And he does try in the defensive zone, although he's not necessarily the best because he is only 5'11". So, but he's a really good player. Not necessarily a first pairing defenseman or anything, but he should be able to run a first line power play and play in your middle pair. But at 5'11", I mean, most Stanley Cup winning teams don't have defensemen under 6 foot. So, but the Colorado Avalanche did that with Cale Makar, and he's the best defenseman in the league. So, not saying Zendelin Palika will be that, but just because he's 5'11" doesn't mean he can help his team win the cup. Oh, okay, so it's a Velcro name tag that they throw on the back of the jersey just before they go up there. I can't believe I didn't know that. I've watched so many drafts. I can't remember what the first draft was that I watched. It had to have been the Alex Turcotte one, because I thought Chicago was going to take him at 3, but it ended up being Kirby Dach. And that was 2019? No, because I wanted to watch the 2018 one, but I was in Wisconsin at the time camping, and I didn't get to see it. So, but I'm fairly certain I watched the 2014 one, and I watched Nick Schmaltz get drafted. So, yeah, I think I've been watching drafts since after the Hawks won the Cup in 2013. Dude, there's so many players that they have listed as needing to grow in defensive zone activity. They're junior players. They're all going to have issues with that, or issues that seemingly are there. But some players probably have that defensive game that they just put away because it's juniors. You don't have to try all that hard. I haven't gotten very many picks right. Our pick is in for Winnipeg. Now, they do have a connection to Gabriel Perreault because they used to have a player on their team with the name of Perreault. It might have been Yannick Perreault, who was one of the head scouts, I do believe, in Chicago. Or actually, he might be a head coach, or not a head coach, but a coach behind the bench for the Hawks, like an assistant. Which is part of the reason why a lot of people want Chicago to take Perreault, because he might just perform better with having a family connection there in Chicago. But we'll see. I just really hope Winnipeg sees Oliver Moore and takes Oliver Moore, and then Chicago can get Gabriel Perreault. Or maybe they take Colby Barlow. Because they just traded away Pierre-Luc Dubois, so I would assume they probably want a center here. And Colby Barlow can play center. And whoever drafts him, I would imagine, would like to develop him as one, as opposed to a left wing. And Barlow's no slouch. He probably shouldn't have dropped down to 18 down here, but like I said, this is a deep-ass draft. All right. Please don't beat Gabriel Perreault. Please don't beat Gabriel Perreault. Please don't beat Gabriel Perreault. Who is that in the shiny white-ass suit? Oh, it was gray. Just the freaking spotlight was so bright it made it look like it was shining silver. Okay, so they did take Kobe Barlow. Oh my God, this is big. Chicago is gonna get Gabe Perreault or Oliver Moore, or they could take somebody else. But I don't see why you don't take Gabe Perreault, especially since you have one of his like his dad in the system. But Kobe Barlow is a big bitch. He's a very physical forward who gets into the dirty areas to score and plays a really, really hard-nosed game. I would have really liked him in Chicago, but because I mean Chicago needs big physical players right now, but he can get them in free agency too. I mean, man, I really like Barlow coming into this draft, but oh man, part of me is a little upset, but at the same time, I gotta accept the fact that I should be really, really happy about Gabe Perreault being there at 19. Unless Chicago does something weird and takes a defenseman here. There's no good defensemen on the board right now that are worth taking in the first round at this point. "46 goals, 33 assists in 59 games. Only 5th in the OHL? I mean, I say only, but he's also a draft-eligible prospect. He's younger than probably most of the guys that are ahead of him in that list. I don't know how people could say Quentin Musty is the better OHL prospect than Kobe Barlow. Kobe Barlow looks like he's in his mid-20s already, if not late 20s. Got a full-ass beard. Commercial break. Motherfuckers. Just let me see my team pick. Yeah, please no Bowman nonsense. You take Gabe Perreault. No, 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 don't you fucking put in... Nope. Do not put it into the existence that the Hawks are going to take Caleb Ritchie. Fuck you. Somebody made a joke that Dalibor Dvorsky is what hockey bros call it when their parents split up. Right, pick is in. Chicago already knows who they're picking. Oh, man. Oh, you can't go wrong here, Chicago. You cannot go wrong. If you get Pearl or Oliver Moore, you probably don't even need to trade into the first round at this point for a third time. Unless you absolutely want to and feel like you need to. There's going to be a lot of fan bases that are pissed off with the players that were available to Chicago at this point. All right, here we go. They should just say it straight outright without having to deliberate about it. Yes! They drafted Oliver Moore. Oh my god. I'm not even upset it's not Gabe Perreault. Moore is like the dream pick. Okay? And I'm gonna talk about him for a long time because I did not see him coming down here at 19, which is why I wanted Perreault. But Oliver Moore is the fastest player in this draft, the best skater in the draft, and Chicago has said for months now that if you can't skate, then you can't be a Blackhawk. And so they go out and they get the best fucking skater in the draft at 19. This is nuts. I think he's 5'11". He's not necessarily the biggest kid, but the speed is nuts. I'm so fucking happy about that. Oh my god. You gotta love some Oliver Moore. That's nuts. I did not expect them to get him. He was a top 10 pick in my eyes. But so out of the 4 USNCDP players, he was the only player who didn't play on a line with the other guys. Perreault, Smith, and Leonard all played together on the same line. Smith was primarily the center. Perreault was on the left wing, and Leonard was on the right wing most of the time. But Oliver Moore centered the second line for the USNCDP, and kid's thick at 5'11", 195. So he's got some better, stronger. He's stronger than he looks, I would assume. But his speed is just game changing. He had 26 goals and 38 assists, which is 64 points in 53 games, which is pretty freaking good, especially for a USNTDP player. I mean, his teammates got twice as many points if you're talking about Perreault and Moore or Smith, but you got to be happy with Moore. He could be your second line center of the future because he is a center. There's no doubt as to whether or not he's a center. That's the only position he played. This is awesome. Now, what would be even crazier is if Chicago somehow makes a trade with Seattle to get Perreault as well. But I doubt it. I don't see that happening. I actually have Seattle taking Gavin Brindley at 20 in the next pick. But, man, he had 9 points in the U18 World Championship in 7 games. So he's going to take a bit longer than Leonard, Smith, or Perreault might. But, like I said, he's got the best wheels in the draft. In fact, he actually, I think, had better statistics and better performance in the NHL Combine when it came to skating and speed than Connor McDavid, the fastest player in the NHL when McDavid was drafted, or in McDavid's draft year. He's nuts. Like, it's crazy how fast Leonard is, so, or Moore is. The fact that Chicago got him is incredible. Arguably the steal of the draft, in my opinion. Even though Michkov went 7th. uh, he and Sam Renzel look pretty similar, both ginger. And he gets the opportunity to play with Connor Bedard too. And I'd say he probably takes 2 years to finish up in college and come and play in the NHL. Maybe has a really good year in college this year, and then goes and plays in the AHL for a year. But Logan Cooley had like 50 or 60 points in the NCAA and is returning to the NCAA. So more might take 2 years. I would assume he probably takes 2 years. So yeah, man. I don't know why I'm tired. I slept a whole lot before this. Fuck yeah. That's a hell of a first round for Chicago. 2 top end centers. Right, Kraken are making their pick. They aren't trading it. I think they just go with Gabe Perreault here. And if you don't, I don't know what's wrong with you. Even though I had them taking Gavin Brindley. Yeah, Bedard and Nazar more up the middle. The Blackhawks won't be huge, but they'll be fast as shit. Damn right. I mean, I don't see Nazar as a center. I see him as a right winger in the NHL. So it should be Bedard and Moore, and then whoever the hell else you get as your third line center. It could be Cole Gutman. It could be, dude, why am I blanking on his name? Paul Ludwinski. It could be Ilya Safonov, who's a big 6'4" Russian player in the KHL right now. Who did they? Seattle picks Edward Shala. If I'm Chicago, I'm contacting Philly or Minnesota or anybody as long as you can get Gabe Perreault as well in the first round. Like, you'd come out with easily the best draft among all NHL teams, even after just the first round. Because you can get Fisker, Milgaard, and Chris Stahl in the second round. Now, Edward Sala, as early as the beginning of this season, was projected as going 3rd overall. So it doesn't surprise me that Seattle takes him at 20, try and capitalize on the fact that he did have that high of potential. But his problem is consistency and putting in that effort shift in and shift out, and game in and game out. But he's got a lot of skill. He's got a really good one-timer. He can be a really good a really special player in this league, but he's got to fill out his frame. He is 6'2", 175, so he could be something huge, but he could also just pan out to be nothing. He's a real boom or bust pick, in my opinion. Oh wow, they didn't even put a nameplate on the back of his jersey. It just says Kraken. Whew. Alright, well now we just kind of write it out and see what everyone else does. Yeah. So Gabe Perreault and Andrew Crystal, according to Megan's best available, are the two best players available in the draft. So now Minnesota came out and said that they're going to draft by positional need because they already have one of the top prospect pools in the league. So I'm not sure exactly what they need. They probably need defensemen, if I'm being honest. If I can remember their prospect pool correctly, that or they need a left winger. So Gabe Perreault could go here at 21. The Hawks are standing up at the table. Well, the pick is in for Minnesota, so it doesn't look like they're moving it. They probably, I don't know, maybe they do take Cristal, but I doubt it. I would assume their pick is probably Quentin Musty. Who I'm not, actually, who did I have them picking? I feel like I had them picking Quentin Musty. I did. I have them picking Quentin Musty, so we'll see who they take. Quentin Musty is another one of those guys who has consistency issues, but when he's on, and he can be ridiculously good. And now they're getting up off the table? What? They might have been listening to offers. If Parole somehow falls out of the first round after recording the most points in the USN TDP, I would be shocked because that's kind of what he's on track to be doing right now. So if we don't see any trades today, there should be a bunch of movement tomorrow because that's what happened either last year or the year before that. Either Bill Guerin didn't get any sleep or he's on drugs right now because his eyes are bloodshot red. So they take Charlie Stramel. Lots of people weren't expecting to see him go until the third round. But they take him at 21. Center. He was projected to go in the top 10 this year because he's such a big body. But he ended up having a pretty meh year in the USN or in the NCAA with Wisconsin. I think he had 5 goals and 7 assists for 12 points. Which, when you compare that to Matthew Wood's 34 points in, like, I think it was 43 games, it's nothing special. But Charlie Strammel's a big player who plays a big game, and he still has a lot of potential. It's just he took a step back potentially this year, so we'll see how he ends up going. I personally wouldn't have taken him here at 21, but that's just me. 6'3", 222. I'm fairly certain he's actually 6'5", but dude's massive. Oh, he's from Minnesota. That's probably why they picked him then. Yeah, 5 goals, 7 assists for 12 points. I think I said that exactly. In 33 games. 12 points is not good for what he was expected to be. Everybody was probably expecting about, I'd say, 5 to 10 more points out of him. All right, well, Perrault and Cristal are still available, and I do believe they are going into commercial break at this point. But Philadelphia's back on the clock. Okay, so Oliver Moore is going to play at the University of Minnesota, and so will be last year's first-round pick Sam Renzel of the Chicago Blackhawks. So they will be playing together, which is going to make their jobs a lot easier, or the development team's job a lot easier in Chicago, to make sure they're able to communicate with those players and get them to make the adjustments to their game that they need to be adjusting. It's all sunshine and rainbows in Chicago right now. I'm hoping to see. Uh, this has probably been one of the best outcomes available or possible for Chicago without having to trade any draft capital to get a player like Oliver Moore at 19 is really, really good. So they still hold on to 4 or second-round picks for tomorrow. And along with, I think, 2/3, a 4th, a 5th, and a 7th. So Philadelphia's picking at 22 here. They're already up on the stage, ready to make their pick official. At 7, they drafted Michkov, so maybe they go for a defenseman here, but there aren't really any defensemen that jump out to me as somebody you're going to want to take in this range, so... Okay, so they do take a defenseman. I was right here. They take offensive defenseman from the London Knights of the OHL, Oliver Bonk. I do believe he's a 6'4"